Is there a way to truly conquer death? We're going to ask that question and way more on today's episode of Systematic Ecology. We are the Priests of the Geeks, covering the final book in the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I'm here, Christian Ashley, as your main host, but I am joined by my co-leader of the rebellion against Joshua and all his evil that the world needs to be fought against. The fact that we can have that lovely episode in The Last Jedi, and he still thinks that he won that debate. Irks me to no end. But Pang is here. She doesn't care about Star Wars, but she's on my side. So there's that. How you doing, Pang?
May the fourth be with you, Christian. That's as much as I got for Star Wars.
There you go. But of course, we're not alone. We had to bring him back. You know him. You love him. Former co-host of the show, eternal friend in our hearts, Nick Polk. How's it going, Nick?
I feel like a Force ghost right now. I'm here. I got killed tragically but heroically, and now I'm back to hang out with our my fellow Jedi. That's how I'm feeling.
Yeah, Nick the White is here to lead us on to glory. So with that in mind, guys, we are again discussing Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Excuse me. Yeah. This is the final. After all these years of build up, Rowling finally got here. We've got the story in print. We've got the 2 movies that were spun off of this. What is your favorite scene or moment from the books and the movies? And I can go first if you need time to think.
I say I don't know if it's my favorite, but the scene that came to me at the beginning was when Draco's mom, I can't think of her name right now, was kind of like, is Draco alive? Like when she realized that Harry was, not, I don't know. That scene just was like so epic. Like I was like, she wasn't even afraid of Voldemort at that time. Like, what a mom.
Yeah, that's a solid scene of like showing, hey, there's not total evil inside of the Malfoy's hearts. There's something there. A love of family, at least.
She was such like she's like, he's dead. Yeah.
What's her name again? What's the mom's name?
Narcissa.
Narcissa.
Yeah, she's hardcore. The love for Draco, like you said, game changer. Definitely.
I mean, she could have literally turned the whole book around if she would have been like, yep, no, he's still alive. We got to get him.
Right.
Yeah, just another case of Voldemort underestimating people, thinking that if I just rule with total fear, no one will ever rebel against me. Yes. And it fails because of a mother's love for her kid. Again.
Love wins.
We call that a
Nick, how about you?
We call it a chiasmus.
Yes.
My favorite is probably the scene where Ron takes out the, I think, locket Horcrux. And I think that because I love Ron and Harry's friendship, particularly as bros, and obviously as they're camping and, Harry is becoming more irritable as the influence of Voldemort kind of takes over and he's close near the Horcruxes and everybody's just kind of being all grumpy and stuff, Voldemort-like, Death Eater-like, and all of Ron's securities gets, thrown out there from this Horcrux, and he takes it out, and him and Harry embrace. And I think that one of my favorite lines, I think it's from the book, is when Ron's like, it doesn't sound very cool when he put it like that after, Harry kind of recaps what he does. And Harry's like, yeah, it's never as cool as people say it is. Like, that's what I've been trying to tell you. I love that line. They can like reconnect as bros. That's probably my favorite scene.
Yeah, I had another scene in case someone else chose my scene, which Nick did, but I couldn't agree more. This is a tremendously great scene. It's, Ron coming back after leaving them behind to be the hero he always could have been, to seal that moment. And I've actually got the quotes up here because I'm not going to remember them offhand. It's like, it starts with Harry telling me, you sort of made up for it tonight. Getting the sword, finishing off the Horcrux, saving my life. That makes me sound a lot cooler than I was, Ron mumbled. Stuff like that always sounds cooler than it really was, said Harry. I've been trying to tell you that for years. Simultaneously, they walked forwards and hugged. It's like,
What a bromance.
yes, this is Ron has never been my favorite character, he's never been my least favorite character, but this really solidified him as someone like, yes, he is Harry's friend. They're through this whole ordeal together, no matter how many hiccups there are along the way. They're bros. They're gonna finish off the rest of these Horcruxes together.
I mean, if we're talking about like scenes that just kind of like wow, redemption. What about when Dudley was like, "I don't think you're a waste of space, Harry."
Such a
Oh
powerful scene
my
too.
goodness, so
He
good. I
might
was
have
like, redemption, kind of.
That's Dudley for "I Love You," and
Yeah.
Petunia too, kind of getting a moment there of like, she lost a sister too, and she's doesn't want to leave Harry either. They had this contentious relationship with each other, but there is still love there. And then there's Vernon, who's nothing will ever change him.
He doesn't want to
he
even
remains
go.
a constant.
Turd.
But yeah, that's such a great character moment there. My backup is the scene where after McGonagall has kind of like kicked Snape out of Hogwarts, she rallies the troops and gets the order there and everything. And it's like, man, if that woman told me to go into hell with a water pistol, I'm following her. Let's do this.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I love McGonagall.
Absolute babe, eternal babe.
Eternal.
Oh, yeah. All right, so those are our favorite moments and scenes. How about characters? How about our favorite characters that came out here? I'll give my. Oh, I forgot to put that up there. There's that. But let's go to favorite characters. My boys, till the end, -1, unfortunately, after the end of this book. Fred and George. They arrive in the very beginning. They crack some jokes to help, get rid of the mood. Mad Eye's not taking none of it. But then they still make the play to pretend. One of them pretends to be Harry. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. Oh, actually, both of them do, don't they?
Yeah, they all pretend to be Harry.
Yeah.
Well, I think one was driving, one was maybe one was driving, one was not. I can't remember.
I'd have to look that one up again. And then later on, when they are part of the official resistance with Potter Watch, like having this radio system in check so that only wizards can hear who are on the in the know to resist Voldemort. Like, who's organizing that? Well, it's not Mad Eye Moody, because he's dead at this point in time. It's not Kingsley Shacklebolt. It's not Arthur Weasley. No, it is George and Fred and Lee Jordan. It's like, I love these guys. They're my everything. I'm so sad to see one die. It makes sense narratively, but it still hurts. How about you guys?
I just got to reflect on, one of the best lines too, when he gets hit in the head. And in the book, he calls him, I can't remember which one is which, but one of the twins calls the other one your holiness because he's holy. Just hysterical. Just the best. It's got to be, let's see. Yeah, I think it's got to be Dobby this round, this book. Usually not a big Dobby fan. When he's working in the kitchens and stuff, and he kind of helps Harry, Hermione, and Ron, that's in the Goblet of Fire, right?
That's when they find that he's working there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I think, he kind of gets annoying. He's sweet. He tries to help Winky and stuff, but he truly becomes like an epic, awesome friend, total hardcore guy, and sacrifices himself on behalf of Harry. And it's one of the saddest scenes to lose Dobby in the Deathly Hallows.
Oh yeah. Just like coming in clutch at the end of the day to make sure they got out alive of Malfoy Manor at the cost of his own life. And a really heart-wrenching scene where Harry is digging a grave for him manually. And then I think it's Ron and Dean come in to help him because they're at the house.
Yeah.
Bill and Fleur's house. It's like, oh, man. Yeah, that's a good one. Pang?
I just want to take the moment, since we're talking characters, to say R.I.P. Hedwig.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Yeah. That was
first
upsetting. Loss. Like, I just felt like that needed to be honored right now because I was so sad when that owl died. So sad. Like, because I equivalate. Wow, that's a great word. But I it's equal to if my dog passed away, I would be destroyed. I would not be able to go to work tomorrow if something happened to my dog today. So R.I.P. with that. I think my favorite character is Flora
Okay.
Decor, because I mean she's the beautiful one, and whenever she was marrying, which Weasley was she marrying, the
Bill,
cool one, right? Bill. But when Bill got
right?
maimed and ugly and whatnot, she's like,
Yeah.
I am
Yep.
staying with my man. I am not
Hmm.
shallow. And like she just kind of like opened up their home and whatnot. So I liked her.
Yeah, solid choice for her standing up for herself and their marriage, and then providing a safe haven a little bit for our characters.
Yeah, it's
Perfect.
like, it's kind of like, oh, there's evil, there's doomsday, let's get married. What a flex.
What a flex.
Right? It's like, you don't scare us. You destroyed my husband's face. Well, my fiance at the time, like, we're still gonna do it.
Isn't that the wedding where they find out that the new minister is dead? Scrimgeour?
Scrimgeour.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's when Kingsley Shacklebolt sends his Patronus, I think, there and tells him, Scrimgeour's
Gosh, and
dead, the ministry has fallen, Voldemort's coming.
Oh
and
yeah.
then that guy came to the wedding from the Goblet of Fire, the
I'm
like
talking
Russian dude. What's his name?
Victor Crumb,
Victor.
Bulgarian.
Victor came. Yeah, he made an appearance too. Yeah, well, I was close. He made an appearance, and Harry's in disguise, and he's like eyeing Jenny because he can't have Hermione. He's like, "Is all the hot girls taken?" I was like, "Yes, Victor. Calm down."
I feel like maybe
I don't know.
J.K.
It
Rowling
was funny.
must have had something against jocks. I don't know. I feel like all the jocks get really, wrecked,
I
except
know.
Harry.
I was like, well, he wasn't really a jock. He was like the nerdy boy who lived.
yeah, but he
But
also
he
was like
became jockey.
he was like the best, the
Seeker.
best seeker ever. The youngest. I
Yeah,
mean, he
but
didn't
I
act like a
equivalent
jock.
jocks as like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I equivalent jock as like the attitude and the persona of
Oh,
not just
fair.
good at sports. Because you can be good at sports and have good sportsmanship, but usually like jocks just suck.
Yeah, it's true.
So kind of like Cormac McLagan from the previous book. It's like this blustery, I'm the best there is. Yeah, I kind of see where you're getting that from, Nick.
Yeah, very, very Slytherin energy, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry to all of my
Mhm.
Slytherins out there.
It's fine. My husband forgives you.
Taylor's a Slytherin. Okay.
And yeah, a Slytherin and a Ravenclaw came together.
Love
It's
conquers all.
crazy.
As a Hufflepuff, I confirm that sentiment.
And then as a Gryffindor, I think
They
you're
just,
brave.
they just made Hufflepuff because like we need something. We need an others category, and that's what a Hufflepuff is.
Have y'all seen
And
Puffs?
I'm
Sorry to
not wrong.
derail. Have y'all seen Puffs?
Puffs.
No.
It was a off Broadway play. It's a parody, and it's about everything that happens during the Harry Potter series from the perspective of a Hufflepuff. It's hilarious.
Oh, that
I
sounds
would love to
amazing.
see that.
Yeah.
Puffs. All right. So we've talked favorite scenes, favorite characters. How about our favorite new thing, creature, spell, what have you, that was introduced in this book? Not as many compared to the last couple of books.
That's hard. What's new?
I'll go ahead and start to give you guys some time to think. The taboo is such a cool idea to make a name taboo, to make Voldemort's name taboo. Because, of course, the only people who are going to say the name are going to be people who are rallying against him, who are resisting him.
Right.
His own followers aren't going to say it. The layman has been used to saying, who, and who must be named, blah, 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 all this time. So, of course, the Order's going to be the one to do it. Of course, Harry's going to do it. It's only because of Ron's intervention that they don't use it more often. So it's such a cool idea from your villains to give them a great way to strike back against the people who are going to be completely unprepared for that attack.
Yeah. I love, too, that, like, Harry Potter does such a cool job of, like, finding stand-ins for technology, because obviously there's, like, lots of surveillance going on, giving like the Big Brother type of vibes with the new ministry. And like you said, that taboo spell is like almost a perfect allegory or I guess function, a magic function for our, for modern day surveillance.
Oh yeah.
Peng, you got a favorite?
I mean, I wish I had Hermione's endless bottomless pit of a bag. Is that
So
technically that
awesome.
was new,
Oh
right?
yes.
That was,
Um,
I mean, every girl's dream, I guess.
Dude,
Saying.
you could
Oh, that
like
makes-
live in that thing.
Are you
Yeah.
good? She had the whole tent in there. She was just so prepared. She's like, oh, I got this. Oh, I got this. Oh, I got this.
You see, this is why the story lasted as long as it did, because Hermione exists. You know, if this was Harry's
yeah.
plan from the beginning, he wouldn't have lasted as long as he did.
Well,
he needs
that,
someone competent like her around to make
I mean,
sure
the
things
force
get
field
done.
too. Just getting everything. Yeah, the force field, the preparation of the bag, being able to like think quickly on the feet.
Oh yeah, real
Go
solid.
Hermione.
Go Hermione. It solves the I feel like all these millennials are like, I can't buy a house. Just get yourself an unending bag. Boom, problem solved.
No, and I
Perfect.
mean, this
Like
wasn't
kill
this movie, but I'm just so happy for her. Remember when like her buck teeth, she got hit with that spell, and whenever they were fixing it, she just let them keep on going until her
Oh,
teeth was
yeah.
normal. What
Yes.
a G. I just say like obscure memories and stuff. Like, man, I knew I liked Hermione.
Yeah, why can't I do that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, she's great.
Man.
Yeah.
Before
Where's
I take
my
us
hair
off,
replacement spell?
where?
What are you about to say, Nick?
I was
Go
going to
ahead,
say,
Nick.
I don't want to take us. I don't want, I feel like it's tough with these movies, especially with Emma Watson playing. No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Emma Watson. It's hard because Hermione was like a goofy looking little girl. And like you said, it wasn't until she hit with that fixing spell did her teeth become normal, But it's Emma Watson and it's, poor what's the actor that played freaking Neville Longbottom? He had to have his teeth messed up for like ever.
Yeah. I don't remember his name. But it is hard sometimes to picture Hermione the book compared to, the gorgeous woman that is Emma Watson at times.
Basic bro
I know,
stuff.
and then like I
Basic
felt
bro.
like Jenny should have been hotter, in my opinion, in all the movies with how Jenny was described. Like it just doesn't make sense to me.
I feel
In my
that.
humble, correct opinion.
Okay. Well, we
My
should have let
humble correct opinion.
we should have let what's her name. I'll let Bonnie Wright know that we're in close contact.
Yeah, she's
I mean,
in
granted,
Christian
like,
speed
cute
dial.
girl.
I've been trying to get Emma or Ivana, but neither one of them will return my calls for some reason.
They were on Christian's top 8 back on MySpace. Yeah, that happened.
Never had his MySpace, but if I did, you would definitely be right.
Speaking of, awesome people to put in your top 8, I think my top 8, probably the number one in my top 8 favorite new things in the book would be the Ukrainian Iron Belly dragon that's guarding. Dragons in Harry Potter, especially the movies, do such a good job, I think, of just portraying them, adapting them. And I think the Iron Belly is not only is like the introduction cool, but how like they help the dragon escape, because it's been tortured for years and years. And then once it's, freed, it's just an awesome hardcore beast. And I love it. I'm trying to think, it's like a soft tough guy,
Yeah.
know?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that Escape from Gringotts is amazing.
Oh yeah.
First successful heist in Gringotts history. And they blundered their way through it the entire time.
I thought the Sorcerer's Stone was technically the first one.
No, they tried to steal it from there, but by that point it had already been brought back to Hogwarts.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
brought to
technically
Hogwarts.
it was broken into, but yeah, you're right. Technically, it wasn't a heist. All right, I see you.
Yep. Yeah. Also, I guess new characters we can add that at list too. Xenophilius Lovegood. He's been hinted at before. Luna, her craziness comes from somewhere, and we meet that personified in her dad.
He's absolutely nuts.
Love him. love that whole thing. I love Luna's one of my favorite characters, but when you meet him, you go, I get it. I get why you are the way you are. And there's the whole thing. Yeah, he gives them up in exchange for her life, which, that's a betrayal, but you get it. Your dad looking out for his kid.
I ain't mad.
Yeah, I would be too mad about him. But a lot of people were really angry at, even after the reveal, was Snape. So in this book, in these movies, we finally get the grand reveal on whose side Snape is really on. Is he a double agent? Is he a triple agent? What the heck is he? So how do you guys think that this was handled? And did it change your perception of him at all?
One of my favorite things about these books, and I think why they have such staying power, is just how messy they are, and how just like there's tropes just like in everything, but characters don't fit. Like Snape isn't just this kind of tropey guy. Like, you're like, dang, he was basically a former magic, Nazi or whatever. And then he comes in and basically promises to kill Dumbledore, so that he doesn't have to, or so that he can look like, he's on Voldemort's side. And then we find this complex relationship between Snape, Lily Potter, and then him protecting Harry, basically for Lily Potter's sake, with a little motivation from Dumbledore too. But I think it's a very sad moment. I think the loss of Snape is real. Like, I think probably it's a little down the middle. I'm not like super sad to lose Snape. I'm more sad about Alan Rickman. But when it happens, you're like, dang, that was sad. And Snape really did sacrifice a lot to get to this point.
Bang.
He's a cool dude. I think they did it well. It wasn't like I was like, oh, that's cool. I wasn't shocked when I found out he was a double agent, because it was always that throughout the whole series, you're like, is he good or is he bad? Is he good or is he bad? So it wasn't all of a sudden this guy you knew was 100% bad, and all of a sudden it's like, what? He was good? So it was fine.
Yeah, for me, reading the last book and having the opening chapter of him making the unbreakable vow to help Draco, and going, oh, the unbreakable vow was meant for him to kill Dumbledore. I'm like, well, of course he'd make the unbreakable vow if he was already working on Voldemort's side. So yeah, it makes total sense. But then you get more information here that we didn't have in the previous book. So it's okay that you didn't get it right the first time, of like
Harry's
where
dad
his
is
true
a
loyalty
turd.
lie. We'll get to that.
I'm just saying. So I'm kind of more on Snape's side, because bullying is bad. Go ahead.
And you see, there is so much more nuance to the characters, because obviously we've been looking at this from Harry's perspective, and Snape doesn't like Harry. He just likes the remnant that is left of this woman that he loved for all these years. And I would argue it was never really a pure love. Always argue it was more like kind of a lustful thing, and he never really understood her that well. And at that stage in his life, when he did call her a mudblood, sure, he was young, he made stupid mistakes, but he never grew past that until he was faced with the reality and the repercussions of his actions. And that changed his love to be something else. That changed it to be where he would be willing to watch over Harry from afar in his own Snape tsundere kind of way. He couldn't actually show affection to Harry, but he could protect the last living remnant of Lily, who was someone that he held the torch for all this time. And he could be the one to kill Dumbledore, not out of malice, but as a mercy kill, because Dumbledore was already dying from having tried to use the resurrection stone in a moment of pride and weakness to look at his family. Snape was really the only person who could have done that. He couldn't have asked, Professor Sprout or Flitwick or anyone else to have done the job. Snape was the only person who could have done that. And this book really helped change my perception of him, in that I like him a lot more. I still think he's a filthy person who needs to work on a lot of character flaws and a lot of things that have caused a lot of problems along the way. But I still accept him as he is.
Yeah, well said. Everything you said, well said. I hadn't really thought about Snape's love for Lily not being pure. Like I think we all get the icky vibes when we see Snape, when we go through his memories and how he kind of watches Lily. And you kind of feel
I
bad.
don't get the ick.
You don't get the
I
ick?
knew.
No
I don't
ick?
get the ick.
Pang's a shipping heretic, but continue, Nick.
Shipping heretic who does not get the ick.
Nope.
I think when you see that Harry Potter, or sorry, James Potter and his crew bully Snape, you're like, dang. Which
Mhm.
it also just adds to the, like, people are complicated and people grow up and do really mean things. But very interesting. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about the not pure love and him being more of like a kind of creep in the bushes type of a thing.
Yeah, I think it's not that he doesn't love her. I just don't think he
Sure.
loves her as truly as he could have, in that he never would have said what he said. And sure, even if he had said that, he could have apologized, actually meant it, and never gone on the path that he did. But instead, he doubled down, and that caused more issues along the way.
But
And
did he redeem? Obviously, I feel like we would say so. But did he redeem his love for Lily by sacrificing himself for her son? He obviously redeemed himself for the story and the wizarding world. But then, does his love transition from not pure to like kind of getting there to like doubling down and being a bad guy to then being like, oh, he actually did love Lily?
I'm going to
What do you
say
think?
yes and no, because I still think at the very end it was a selfish love. Because what's the last thing he has to do? Look at Harry's eyes. Not look at Harry, look at his eyes. The thing that reminds him of her. So I still think he does love Harry in his own Snapey kind of way. But it's not as pure as it needs to be. It's not a true unconditional love.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, we
really
can't all
cool.
be like Jesus. Only he can purely love us. So I don't know
I'm
what you're
working on it,
expecting from my
Pang.
man. I don't understand why you put in a Christian value on a non-Christian guy. Like, geez.
Because Jesus expects it of
Jerks.
everyone.
What about Jesus in the wizarding world? Let's get into that.
Yeah. Oh, we got some verses to talk about later on too that show up in this book. But Pang, I want you to be able to defend yourself, not just to shout you down because I think you're wrong. Like, open up. Why is Snape's love okay?
Because love is love. Just kidding. Just kidding. Sorry, I had to. Sorry if that offended anyone, but it is true. I mean, he does love her, and not everyone. You have to think of emotional intelligence too. So he was an outcast as a child. So Lily is probably that first connection he has, and so it could even go into more of a friendship type deal where it's almost like a little kid who does not understand the social interaction of like someone is taking my friend away. So not only is someone taking your friend away, you also has the emotional damaging of being bullied. So of course, so now he views James as a bad person, as a person who is fake, as a person who is untrustworthy because he bullies Snape's, but then like tries to flirt with Lily. So he is just trying to defend his friend, and he doesn't understand that people, we can all think about as a child whenever one of your best friends gets another friend and they start getting closer to someone else. Like, and he didn't have the emotional intelligence to handle that. So that's why I'm saying his love doesn't give me the ick. I just think he was, deprived of love to understand how to receive it and share it. If you want to get, counseling wise. But yeah. And then, I mean, I don't know about redeem. We can't really say if he redeemed it well, but he did. He made a vow and he saw it through. So, I mean, I don't love my husband perfectly. And I wouldn't say my love for him is pure, to be honest.
Poor man.
It's kind of selfish. I mean, it is relationships are give and take.
I appreciate it. I honestly appreciate the the Snape defense. I really like it.
It makes sense.
And as far as like the bullying goes, yeah, absolutely. Definitely happened on both sides. There's no innocent person in that regard between the two of them. We see Snape's side of things. We don't get to see James's side of things. We don't see his.
But even Black was like, we was just joking around. It's not it wasn't a big deal. So bully.
And he's the perfect example of someone who never grew past that, as opposed to James, who did mature who did
Right.
realize, hey, I've been a bit of a jerk. And that's the only, when he started changing himself for the better, that's when Lily took appreciation and notice of him and started to really fall in love with him. That's the James Potter that became the father of Harry, not the James Potter who was the one who held up Snape by his ankles in the air with magic. And Snape, unfortunately, just couldn't let go of that, which understandable to an extent. Given, hey, I was the target of bullying, but I can't imagine any conversation had James tried to go to him and like apologize, if that ever happened at all. I don't see it ending well.
Yeah.
Nope.
Big grudge holder. Big grudge holder.
And that's assuming that he ever went to apologize, because I don't know if we've ever gotten any, like, for sure he attempted reconciliation or not.
Well, and we never know if James was actually remorseful or if he just kind of like just drifted apart. You know what I mean? And he could have just been like, I was like, oh, we were just joking around. We didn't mean anything by it.
Then, of course, you get Lupin's perspective on the whole thing. It's like, yeah, I should have been better, like, helping my friends and making sure they weren't doing and making these stupid decisions. But he also wanted to have friends.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't do anything. And as an adult, he can look back on that and reflect. Yeah. He's the one with the werewolf affliction. Like, who else would want to be my friend? Except these guys who accept me for who I am. Yeah. Yeah. A lot to be mined from Snape. Do you guys have anything else you want to say?
We love you, Snape.
Yeah. R.I.P. Snape.
Yeah. I do regret his loss. It makes sense in the story. So I'm happy in that way that it happened. But
yeah, for sure.
It's still not nice that he's dead, And a lot of people drop like flies in this book.
Oh my gosh.
Happened in the last book. And that, of course, being Albus Dumbledore. And part of the journey in this book for Harry, Hermione, and Ron is learning who he actually is as a person. The Dumbledore they saw is like, can they trust that person? What's the history behind it? We get Rita Skeeter being very Rita Skeeter, writing a book exposing Dumbledore's past. So part of this we see is an attempt to demystify like Harry's perception and understanding of who Dumbledore is as a person. So guys, what do you think that we can learn from how the book handles finding out more about your mentors and heroes?
I feel like it's very similar to, if you think about, I just think recently that really jars me is these leaders in the church who are falling like flies. You know what I mean? Like with social media and being exposed, and you think they're like pillars of the church leaders today, and you find out they had an affair or they did this or they, whatever. You can easily find any kind of article about a church leader who has fallen. And so it's just the reality of who you think is, might put up on a pedestal is not all who they're cracked up to be, because everyone has their flaws. Also, Dumbledore be secrety. I didn't really like him in this book. I'm just like, dude, just, I mean, Harry already saved you guys' butts 6 times by now. Let him in.
Nick?
Yeah, I think I'm with Pang on this one. It's like I said, part of what makes this book so good is the complexity there. I think Dumbledore should have let Harry in much earlier on what was going on, and I don't think it would have affected the outcome that much. Now, obviously, Dumbledore's tactics that he did use before he died obviously ended up culminating in something that he had envisioned for the defeat of Voldemort, the success of Harry, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. I think I'm like split in the middle. So, because I have like personal experience, like my grandpa had died when I was really young, like, 16, and he was like my guy. But it wasn't until I was probably in my early 20s when I found out my grandpa, before I was born, terrible person, terrible past life, just did not do things that were good or honoring, or, not even in Christian standards, but regular people would be like, golly, but in my own life, as he, he changed and tried to make things better, there's this kind of positive construction that I have made of him for me based on my experience, to be like, I've got this mentor figure, this grandfatherly figure, to recognize he was human, not to totally erase that and construct some false reality, but to kind of highlight on the good things so that I can look up to a mentor figure and be like, those are the qualities I want to embody in my life, you know? And I think Dumbledore has many of those. And so what do you do with him? We obviously have the privilege of seeing basically his whole life with, you know, some of the movies coming out too. The more recent movies. And so we have this privilege of judging him over a span of time. But ultimately, I think he is a flawed character, really messed up. I tend to kind of be over on the over when it comes to disliking Dumbledore and thinking he messed up. But also, I recognize why he didn't know everything. He was just doing what he thought was best, I guess.
Yeah. Say well said by both of you. At the end of the day, I'm more positive on Dumbledore. I see the totality of life, and as much as I hate to say it, we needed Rita Skeeter to write that tell-all book.
Yeah,
so
for
that
sure.
Came out into the world. People just saw him as this paragon of virtue, and to be fair to most of them, that was the Dumbledore that they knew, a Dumbledore who had changed from the one that we actually hear about in his younger days, who had these wizard supremacist views that caused him to think that muggles were less than, that wizards should just rule over them. They're the superior ones. They have the superior powers. So, of course, they're the ones who have the authority and the responsibility to, you know, make sure the lesser races don't know, you know, what they're doing, so we can tell them what to do. We should rule over the house elves and the centaurs and the muggles and everyone else in between, because we're clearly more powerful and better than them. And you get them involved with Grindelwald as well. The two feed off of one another. The terrible incident that happens with his sister Ariana ends up occurring. Breaks the brotherhoodship between Dumbledore and Grindelwald and his actual brother Aberforth, who to this day still has very mixed feelings about the brother that he looked up to because of what he allowed to happen. But then Dumbledore took from that past.
Aberforth is such a cool name. Go ahead. I just
It
wanted to
is a
say
cool name.
Aberforth.
Yeah.
Great name.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Dumbledore took from that past, learned from it, and became the man we saw in Sorcerer's Stone, and so on and so forth. Who still not a perfect person by any stretch of the imagination, but never again would ever want to be the man that he was at that time. Now we do see facets of that coming in and how he overplans things and doesn't involve people. Like, hey, McGonagall didn't know all his secrets, and she's probably one of the closest people to him. Harry probably knew more than a lot of people because Dumbledore felt a kinship towards him, but he still didn't tell him everything. And that caused problems. So yeah, what I love this book, what it does, it explores like, hey, our mentors, the people we look up to, you know, I look up to my dad. I look up to my grandfather as well. Like paragons of virtue, but they also had their past. My dad didn't come to faith till he was 16. And I've talked about it before on the show. He bullied people extensively. He was a hellion. And a lot of people, when he came to faith, he had to go out. Once he realized what he had done, he made a list of every single person he could remember wronging. And that's the ones he could remember because there were so many. And he went out, he apologized. Some accepted. Some had forgotten all about it completely. Others wanted nothing to do with him. And that's part of growing up, is realizing I've hurt people. The people I admire have hurt people because they're just as human as I am. So I need to accept the good of them and the bad of them. That's who they are. But what's more important is what they're doing right now. Are they working past it, or are they pretending like it never happened? Dumbledore was kind of doing both.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because,
just what a guy. You know, I just respond, you know, just what a guy. It's just for somebody to, I mean, also too, we're like putting our family and even empathizing in our own context, which is not like the head of like the most prominent wizarding school, you know, in the West essentially, and maybe the world, and a political leader who is able to like with his opinions change like the dynamics of wizarding culture and law. You know, and he's basically by himself with, you know, Dumbledore's army and in the Order of the Phoenix to stop a whole nother regime, which is just crazy. I don't know if I would have had
that he already had the
courage to
fight
do it.
before.
Right.
Yeah. Paying, anything you want to add?
No, one thing I kind of just, as we were talking, think about how, and I always say church, I always relate it to church because that's married a pastor, that's my life. But you never know the weight on someone's shoulders, the higher up they are. Like when you are a senior pastor, even like deacons and like the youth pastors or the worship pastors, stuff like that, you will never know the weight of decision making because you're just not that role. So I come on, Dumbledore, let Harry in, but the reality is only the weight of all of it. So something to be mindful as you, even since we're in our political thing, even like political leaders, we can say a lot of stuff, but we'll never know the weight of those positions.
And I would say one thing that I do find very admirable about his character is that he never sought to become minister of magic. Yeah. It was practically handed to him in the same way it was handed to George Washington to become the first president of the United States. All he had to do was say yes. And he did. Washington did. But Dumbledore said no because he knew what he had done with power beforehand. Imagine what he could have done with that power now. And he didn't like what he saw. And that takes some serious self-reflection.
That's a good point.
All right. So moving on from there, we go to our main villain, good old Voldemort. After 7 books of build-up, a couple fake outs, you think he's going to show up, but he doesn't. We have him, our ultimate big bad, has his ultimate showdown with Harry. How effective, in your opinion, was Voldemort as a villain for us in this book?
I thought he was pretty good. He's, I think I've talked earlier. There's so many parallels between Harry Potter and Middle-earth. And Voldemort is very much like a traditional Tolkienian type of villain where he is pure evil in the sense that he wasn't evil at first, but has chosen that path and moved on and corrupted himself and decided to choose self-aggrandizing over other things. And his whole downfall is based on him basically not understanding that people do not think like him or do not fear him, And I will say that one of the things that Sauron does that's, in the book, that he stays in the background and manipulates his peons to do his work. And Voldemort very much does it at the beginning, but towards the end, Voldemort himself leads the charge, which I think is, I'm trying to think of the right word. I think more of a motivating factor for people. I think that there would be more, I even think the villains, I think Death Eaters, I think they maybe are not as participatory as I think they should be based on Voldemort's presence towards the end. Now they do show up as an army and, they attack Hogwarts and stuff. But, and I haven't read the child. What is it?
Yeah, don't worry. It doesn't exist.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm down for that. But I don't know what happens if other Death Eaters or somebody leads the charge. I feel like everyone here, after Voldemort dies, everyone scatters. And I just don't know if that would happen, But I don't know. I guess that kind of happened with, Hitler in Germany. And Voldemort's basically Magic Hitler. So anyway, I think he's a good villain. I think he's very effective. And I think his downfall is very cool.
Bang.
I mean, yeah, he was a good villain. I wish he wasn't so afraid of Harry. You know what I mean? Because that makes you see the weakness of it. And so because of that, I wouldn't say he's a top tier villain. He just looks like a scaredy cat trying to appear bigger than he is because he's already been foiled so many times by Harry. And a lot of it was like accidentally stumbling into defeating you. Oopsies. Glad that worked out. So I'm kind of like, what kind of villain are you, dude? So I feel like he could have been a little bit more strategic. Like if I really I got trust issues. I would have been seeing if Harry was really dead for myself. I would like, this is gonna be a little morbid, but I would be like stabbing him, like, you know what I mean, like making sure, like if I really wanted someone dead, like ain't no way, I ain't leaving it a chance. I don't want to. I want to burn the body. Like just like
Yep.
Totally.
even in scary movies when they think like, oh, we got them. I was like, no, you did not get them. You did not get them. They're going to come and jump scare me in 10 minutes. You did not get them. And they never do.
How many Halloweens do we need? Okay, like you said.
Yeah, like they're not dead. Like gosh,
How many times before we just incinerate Michael Myers?
So I'm just kind of like that. I was like, dude. So I found it kind of not. I just didn't see him as a villain in this one. I just saw like a dude throwing a temper tantrum.
Yeah, Pang. This is why we get along so well. I think we would make excellent villains together
Because we would kill them.
Because we would learn, hey, sometimes you got to get a little dirty. Sometimes you got to do things yourself and make sure and confirm the hero fighting against you is dead.
I mean,
you got to be a little genre savvy.
If I'm going to jail, I'm making it worth it. I'm not going to for attempt murder. I'm going to actually do it. It's the same life sentence. Gosh, I'm going to make it count.
Oh, man, if only Kino were here to discuss murder, too. It'd be perfect. So,
I mean, I'm not going to do it. I'm just saying if I would.
Kino would emphasize. He'd say, I'd kill everybody. You know, I can hear him, dude. I can hear him.
For me, Voldemort here, I agree. He's not the greatest villain in the history of fiction.
Yeah.
He is pure evil. There's reasons for why he's pure evil. I don't think he's underdeveloped. I don't think he's one note. But he's not nearly as good as other villains. But that's okay. He is perfect as who he is. And that is a megalomaniacal maniac who is in charge, the strongest there ever was. You're going to follow him or you're going to die. But as we've rightly stated before, that sphere of influence he has around the people that call themselves his followers starts to break because of those same characteristics. He has Draco Malfoy use the Cruciatus curse on the people who failed to get Harry, Ron, and Hermione at the very beginning of the book. He has inspired such a realm of fear that Lucius has been abused as well by him. Even Bellatrix sometimes looks like she might be afraid of what could happen if, the Horcrux that was under her possession, she didn't know what it was, but if it gets stolen, she fears what he's going to do to her. And it raises to the point where Pang brought up Narcissa earlier, where she rebels because she knows who Voldemort is, and she knows what would happen if Harry were to win. He wouldn't be around to boss her family around or cause them to be destroyed. Like, hey, yeah, if they win against the people at Hogwarts, well, he's in charge now. Who's he going to turn against next? Who are the people who weren't as loyal as other people? And that's what villains like him ultimately do, is they create enemies out of the people that are supposed to be their allies, that they end up becoming the biggest thorns in his sides that the heroes never would have imagined. And his end is perfection. He has found the thing he's been looking for this whole time, and immortality. As that shriveled up little thing that can't interact with the world, is kind of in this in-between space of life and death. And that's where he's going to remain for pretty much eternity in the Harry Potter universe.
Yeah. An apt downfall.
Very much so. And that kind of, unless anyone else has anything else want to add to Voldemort, all right. That kind of brings us to one of the core themes of the final book, arguably of the series as a whole, in how one in their lives fights with and or wrestles with the concept of death, and how that applies not only to the plot of the story, but also the characterization of the people involved. And in fact, earlier for the Potter's Grave, we do see a quote from the Bible show up. So I feel okay adding that in here. We try not to shoehorn, verses in here. This is actually from the source material, so I get to use it for free.
Yeah.
Ooh, just like our salvation. Good.
1 Corinthians 15:26, here quoted as, "The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death." So, gentlemen, lady, how does this story handle this conundrum? And do we agree with the story's premise that we need to accept death as a part of life?
Mm-hmm. Well, in Christ we have everlasting life. So I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. Mm-hmm.
You know, is
I'm
it
trying to
okay if
think.
no? I'll let you think.
Go ahead.
You jump in, Pang.
No, you let him cook.
Ooh, cooking. I'm
Sorry,
cooking.
I've been hanging out with high schoolers all day.
No, legitimately, I've heard so many kids say that ate so much, and I'm like, I can't.
He ate.
He ate, dude.
I
I'm
hate
like,
it. Like whenever someone, I hate this new lingo. Like let him cook, let him cook. I was like, is there going to be food involved? Can I have some? Wait, there's no food.
we're straight old people now. Kids call each
Right?
other chat. They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, chat," and I'm like, "Listen, the mod is stepping in, okay?" And they're it stops them immediately because it's so cringy to them, and it's the best.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. But you know, coming into accepting death, you know, I think that when it comes to the book, and I don't know if this is reflective of J.K. Rowling's real life views or if it's just in the book. I know Tolkien and his cosmos, his death is a gift for humans rather than a punishment. And so that wasn't reflective of his own Catholic beliefs. He believed in the traditional fall based on human sin in the world. But, you know, for me, I think that I like Harry Potter's take on death more because I see as a, you know, which I'm not a resident systematic ecology person no more, but as a former resident,
Yes.
you know, as a systematic
Always
ecology
welcome.
emeritus, you know, I as a process person, I see death as a part of life, and that, you know, eternal life being more of like a symbolism for Christ dying for us in every moment, and where even when we do die and our body decomposes, that who we are doesn't stop there. And in fact, who we are influences, whether it be through memory or our physical energy or whatever you want to call it, right? God's use of our lives and things of that way, that we don't truly die there. So I'm cool with death being a regular part, and I think death can be defeated because we recognize that death doesn't have the final say, and therefore it does not paralyze us and keep us under the thumb of fear. Yeah. So I like Harry Potter's use of First Corinthians there.
Okay. Pang.
I mean, I never really even noticed it, which I kind of feel like, you know, I feel like you can take my Christian card now. But I was like, it is in there. Wow. Cool. My bad. So I was like reading the verse, like, you know, so I can read like the verse before and verse after and stuff. And so this is in one of his letters, and so it's pretty much stating that the wages of sin is death, and so he's pretty much writing to the church. Gosh, now I just read it and like kind of saying like, you know, kind of letting them know like this is almost like the final battle, because in Christ we will be resurrected. So I don't know, because I'm as someone who's not afraid of, and I kind of sometimes wish that today, I think it's fine, but like I said, it didn't stand out to me, so I don't have much to say on it. I'm like, cool, you used a Bible
That's
verse.
Fair. Okay, that's fair. So when I'm looking at this,
I mean, yeah, I could have gone like, you know, charismatic and said some stuff. I was like, I don't feel like faking it.
you know what, we're better off. Thank you for relenting.
I mean, I'm ready to get slain, like harried, and then come back.
I mean, I could have gone through
ready.
like the whole. I could have gone through like the whole, like, you know, like this was the meaning of the like Corinthians, but I don't feel like it. That's another.
It's okay.
Thing.
So when I look at all these people in the story and how they look at death as something to be feared, as something to just accept, as something that's just a part of life, we go to the story of the actual Deathly Hallows, for which this book is named, and we have the three Paravel brothers. One tries to use and find a way to fight death. The other tries to, trick death and make a mockery of death through the resurrection stone. The first one using the Elder Wand. Then the third one realizes death is going to do whatever it wants to me, so I'm going to hide from death using the invisibility cloak. And then at the end, welcomes death with open arms. And that is a huge part of what Harry has to do in this book. He has to be willing to sacrifice himself as the final Horcrux, which he has realized that Voldemort accidentally made him one when he killed Lily and James Potter, that the only way for Voldemort to die is if I die myself. And as a part of this story, yeah, sure, there's things Harry still wants to do. He still wants to be with Ginny. He wants to hang out with his friends. He wants to stop this, this evil wizard rebellion. But the most important thing he can do, in a huge contrast to Voldemort, is accept death with open arms, which Voldemort will never do, and in fact has gone out of his way to cause death so that he himself does not experience death. And the contrast between the two is just heightened at the end, where one succeeds and the other fails miserably, even though he kind of gets, to an extent, what he wants, even though it's not what he really wants. And I love how she plays with that, Rowling. And, even that quote, I think, if I remember correctly, in the book, it's like, oh man, did a Death Eater write that? It's like, no. And I think it's Hermione who corrects Harry's poor theology and says, that's actually a scripture. And if you just look at that on its own, you can say, yeah, I can see how that's a Death Eater quote. But when you look at the actual totality of it, it's, death is going to be destroyed one day. And those who are his are going to be with him in eternity, in real life. And that is such a welcoming thing. That's such a beautiful thing. And I'm so glad you don't need to read that verse in the story to get the whole concept of what she's fighting about with the theme, but it enhances it greatly. And I really appreciate that as a reader.
Yeah, I don't think I remember Harry thinking, speculating that it's a Death Eater quote and Hermione correcting him. It's really interesting, especially in relation to what you just said about, just unpacking what that verse means in Christian tradition, and tying that into Harry basically being wizard Jesus, but and then connecting it to like Jesus's real work on the cross and resurrection. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Pang, you have anything else you want to add?
I like Jesus.
You know what? I think we can agree with that.
I mean, he's all right.
He's my savior.
Is he on your top 8?
He's number
Definitely
one
top
in my
8.
heart. Only on days that end in Y, though.
There you go.
Zing.
All right. Well, with all that in mind, as we kind of get towards the end of this, was there anything in this book that we would have liked to have seen more explored about, more opened up about? And that's a very broad question. And I'll answer in a way I know it's not possible, since we are, once again, from Harry's perspective. But I want to see the resistance inside of Hogwarts so bad. I want to see Neville rallying as a hero, getting Ginny and Luna and Seamus and everyone there to fight against the Carrows, to fight against Snape's regime. I want that so bad, just to see how it works and to see how Snape is subtly helping them this whole time, to where they hate his guts, but they're only alive in the state that they are because of him.
Yeah, and like you said, the movies give us a little bit of a peek, but not quite. Like as more as it could, because we still go back to Harry. Yeah, I agree. And I think that similarly, I think I would have loved to. There's lots of kind of reminiscing about the history of the fight between Voldemort and Dumbledore and all this stuff, and I think I would have loved to see more. Which how do you do that in a book like this? But being a Lord of the Rings guy, I want some appendices. Tell me the family backgrounds of all the former members of the Order of the Phoenix, where they came from, who they met, which battles they fought in, and what times. Just seeing really more of that unpacked in this, just because we do get to see this rendition of Dumbledore's army, against Voldemort. So,
You know what I just realized I forgot to do?
what'd you forget to do?
I didn't ask what everyone's been geeking out
Pay your
on.
tithes.
So,
Oh, we can get that later.
so we'll do that to the
We're geeking out on
recommendations.
Harry Potter.
That is totally on me as the host one. My bad. So yes, yeah. Sorry, Nick. I was
We were
in the midst
excited.
of realizing that in the middle of what you were saying.
No, I'm glad you did. Also, since you interrupted, can I go pee real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Joshua's gonna have to
That's
edit
so
it,
funny.
but that's
Sorry,
on him.
Josh.
I feel like we should keep that in.
Yeah, we'll just
feel like that
remain
should
static here for a
Yeah,
bit. Give Joshua more work to do.
Uh,
He doesn't do enough.
yeah, Josh, get the freaking work.
Goodness
really funny.
gracious.
Have to go to
I was
church
like,
later.
ugh. I feel so bad because I was like listening to what Nick said, and I just had this realization.
Yeah,
And I missed a lot of
saw-
what he was saying.
I wasn't sure if you had your hand raised or if you were saying like "Amen, brother." I didn't know which one it was.
That was me, like, I'm so stupid.
That's funny. Technically, we geeking out on Harry Potter.
I mean, yeah. I mean that's a legitimate answer. We'll see if Joshua actually keeps this up for YouTube or not, or if
I'm
he
sure
just
he will.
moves together. Like, I'm sure even if this is part of the podcast, I still think it's funny just for people to realize how dumb I can be.
It's not dumb. You're doing great. I
Oh,
gotta
man.
figure out what I'm geeking out on.
There you go. This will give you time to figure that out. Because I always write it
Or just
beside.
pull up Crunchyroll.
There you go. I always put it in a tab right beside whatever we're recording on so that I don't forget it. Because I will forget exactly what I've been geeking out on if I don't do that.
Sorry for my baby bladder friends.
It's okay. All right. So, Nick, can you reiterate what you said at the very end while I was distracted by my incompetency?
All right, Josh, start now.
Oh, like am I starting?
No. It's in like what you can say, and Joshua can decide to edit however he wants.
Oh, okay, cool. I really just, like I said, want more details about the former members of the Order of the Phoenix. I want to know the family lineage. I want to know, more about what Dumbledore was doing. We get a little bit of that, in the whole Fantastic Beasts series, but I want more. I want to nerd out more about the world.
Okay. Bang, your answer.
Because she gave us like a little like teaser whenever like the time skip and like their kids was going to Hogwarts, and then like you have gosh, what was his name? Was it, like Lupin and Tonk's kid and whatnot. Like I would have just liked to see a little bit more, of like how they adjusted afterwards. You know what I mean? Like there was a time skip, but like there was I'm sure you had to adjust. Like, did you ever finish Hogwarts? Did you graduate, Harry? Like, what happened?
Are you a high school dropout?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, did you get to CLEP your last year because you defeated Voldemort? I'm just very curious. So it would have been nice to like kind of go a little bit, like even if it was granted, like once you're done, like as a writer, I know you're done and like this is how you wrapped up the story, but I just want to like a little bit more. If you're going to go ahead and open the door, if the kids are going to Hogwarts, I'm like, well, what happened in between?
No, I think it speaks a lot to Rowling's writing that even as long as this book is, we still want more.
Oh yeah.
And that, man, what happened to this character? What were they doing in the midst of this? And it's not necessarily a criticism so much as we care about these people, these fictional people who have never once existed in real life. And yet we want to know their story. We want to know what's going on in their lives. What were they struggling with? How did they succeed? How did they fail? So yeah, I like that a lot from the both of you. Those are good answers. Well, Peng already brought up the ending, so we might as well head that way.
You're welcome. All right, let's buckle up.
This is after years of buildup, 7 books. We finally get to the epilogue chapter. And I ask all of you, were you satisfied by the ending? So it was divisive in some areas.
I think just kind of like similarly with being said, I just wish they just go all the way. I liked it as an ending to that story. I think it would have been a cool trend. I think it's a cool ending, but also what could be a cool opening to like, the sequel for what happens with, the next generation of wizards at Hogwarts. I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. More of just, like I said, I'm more mad about it because I didn't have more. That's really my only issue, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm content with it, but I'm just saying we can always more's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm satisfied. There's stuff I'd like elaboration on. I really think maybe Harry should have named one of his kids after Hagrid, at some point in time. The man who was like the most loyal person possible to have as a friend, as a mentor, as a teacher. But, that's
But
a
Hagrid
small gripe.
He didn't pass away, did he?
No. But you can still name someone after someone who's alive. Not every character needs to be named.
It could be coming.
In a legacy faction.
Could be coming. It might be. You don't know.
But also, Hagrid's part giant. Ew. Like,
I'm about to say Hagrid's not like the best name either, to be honest.
Well, his name's
Rubius.
Rubius isn't bad.
Yeah, done.
Yeah.
First name, yes.
It could have been the middle name too. The one that no one ever sees unless they're me, and my parents make me use my middle name. So
his whole son's whole name is kind of ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Albus Severus.
Yeah, it's also just
it's
throw Hagrid in there.
What's the other kid's name? Doesn't he have two kids?
There's two more. One is like Lily Luna. What's the other one? It's like
it could be Hagrid.
Harry's kids' names. Let's see. Yeah, Lily Luna, James Sirius, which makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Albus Severus. See, they even named her after Luna. Luna's still alive. Could have thrown Hagrid in there. Just saying.
Well, we will die for Hagrid.
Yes, of course. Look, if there was some guy like him at my school growing up who was just this big guy, a very friendly guy who always opened up and had fun with you and looked out for you, like, what kind of person would I be not to like make that man a priority in my life?
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah, but as far as the ending actually goes, I love the setup there that things that don't happen and I refuse to talk about ruin later along the way. But the idea of what if I'm in Slytherin, Dad, from the youngest son? What if the sorting hat puts me there? So yeah, well, one of the greatest men I knew, one of them you're named after, was from Slytherin. That is such a good bit of character development in the years we've yet to see Harry go through.
Yeah.
To show how much the Harry of of book 1 doesn't want to be in Slytherin, not knowing as much as he does now. And yet this one is okay with his son being in Slytherin. And the fact that the scar no longer hurts. That's like the perfect cap off there.
Yeah, agreed. I really like that. There's so much healing relationally, emotionally, arguably spiritually, and physically with the scar. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have anything else to add to that?
I don't think so.
Okay. So guys, we're heading to the actual wrap up now, where we will do our what we're geeking out on and our recommendations, because some idiot forgot to do that earlier. Can't imagine who. But if you're a special Patreon or Captivate listener, we have a special bonus question for you. And that is, if we had to prevent a death only to cause someone else to die as a result in the book, in the movie, who would we save and who would we kill off instead? You got to put them on the hot seat. You can't just save someone for the sake of saving someone. Got to make it work. So if you're interested in that question, throw a little money our way and we'll give it to you.
I have what's it called, a controversial thought for it. So give us money so you can listen.
You would ever have a controversial thought, my dear friend.
Yeah, it's going to make you guys angry.
All right, you guys, rating and reviewing this book. What's your final score out of 10?
9. That's high
Okay.
for me.
I think I'll be with you there. This is one of the best. This is one of the best, if the best book in the entire series for me. Um, yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I like it.
Okay. Yeah. I still flip flop between Order of the Phoenix and Goblet of Fire being my favorite. I put those at like a 10 out of 10. I'm satisfied with giving this one a 9. There's some things there that I'm not big on, but for the most part, I enjoyed the journey. I was along for the ride. She ended it about as perfectly as you can. So 9 out of 10. So, lady and gentlemen, what have you been geeking out on recently?
I don't know why, but I started rewatching. I think I just needed something on in the background while I curled my hair, and it was Prince of Tennis. I chose. I love that little. So random, right? I was like, I wonder what Rio Atchison is up to. So, yep, I'm gonna say that one because it's been my background anime.
Nick?
So random.
Mine is also an anime, not the Prince of Tennis, but I've been, R.I.P. Uh, Toriyama, Akira, rest in peace. But I've just gone back to going through the Dragon Ball Super series because we're gonna get a new Dragon Ball series at the end of the year. And I've got a bunch of the manga for the stuff that didn't become animated into anime. For the ending of Dragon Ball Super. So I'm just diving in.
All right. Well, and it's a surprise twist. I also am choosing an anime. Some romance anime.
Yeah.
I needed that in my
talk to me,
life the other
Christian.
day. Like I was feeling kind of down. I needed some wholesomeness in my life. I just hit the random button on a certain site that I won't name, and I dropped upon 2 movies, a miniseries, and a series that are all kind of in the same universe that has some similar characters. The first movie is called I've Always Liked You. The second movie is called The Moment You Fall in Love. The third one, the miniseries, 6 episodes, is Our Love Has Always Been 10 centimeters apart.
Oh,
And
yes, you love
I
Booty.
think, yeah, what's one? The fourth one, the series I'm watching right now, I've only seen the first episode. It's like Heroin something. It's a recent series. All of them I highly recommend. I had a lot of fun. I needed the sugary diabetes of anime romance in my life, and it helped immensely.
Ooh, Christian Senpai.
It's really funny.
I'll notice you one day, Nick.
Notice me, senpai.
All right, and since we're being so unorthodox today, do you have any recommendations for the audience?
Yeah. So I got a good one, guys. Fairy Tale not just announced, but in July, it's coming. It's coming back after some years, all right? So you guys need to start watching it. So that way when July comes, we can watch it together, okay? So right now, get off this
100-Year
podcast.
Quest.
100-Year Quest, baby. I think even though TJ hates it and he's wrong, and he doesn't listen to this show, but he's still wrong. He hates it. It's Fairy Tail is my favorite anime. You can't take that away. Like it's just I've watched a lot of anime. It's the best. It's top tier. I love it. Go watch it.
Nick.
Go watch it. Fairy Tale is pretty good. That's exciting. I did not know it was coming out.
July 2024, baby.
July. I'm just ready for the next seasons of freaking Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia. I can't handle it.
Oh yeah.
So excited.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be a good year of anime. Honestly, it's a really good year.
So good. My recommendation is with the recent Fallout series, go play if I think Amazon Prime is still doing it. If you have Prime, you can get Fallout 76 for free. If you have Game Pass on Xbox, it's already on there. But when Fallout 76, I was one of the suckers that got it. At the beginning, it was god awful.
Yep.
Graphics were terrible, no NPCs, And they have really just done so much work to it because I was like, you know what? Fallout was a great show. Let me just re-download this, see what they did. It is an extremely fun game that you can play online with your friends. Highly recommend Fallout 76 after all these years.
Okay. Yeah. The anime that I couldn't think of was Heroines Run the Show. But as far as my actual recommendation goes, if you're a horror fan and you're like me and you were kind of disappointed that the trailer spoiled it, which is weird for me because normally I don't care about spoilers, check out Abigail. It was a ton of fun, some gory fun, and a very great locked room, murder mystery kind of thing. Well, not mystery so much. Let's say murder happens a lot there. So that's it for recommendations, guys. Thank you for listening as long as you have. Thanks for bearing with me as my continued senility gets aired live on the podcast, as that early onset Alzheimer's just keeps getting a little closer every day. Please, if you get a chance, just leave a 5-star review on your podcasting platform of choice. It really helps with the ratings there. It helps more people to find us. I really appreciate the people who have done it so far. If you want to reach out to us, head over to systematicgeekology@gmail.com. Love to hear your requests. We do listener requests all the time. We've got a couple planned in the pipes along the way. Other than that, I do need to thank some patrons. Ethan Overcash, Austin Nance, Amber Riley. Thank you guys for what you do. You guys are the best. Can't do this show without you. And thank you again to everyone who donated on Facebook to the GoFundMe we had set up to get new equipment for the show. You guys blew it out of the water. We asked for something and you gave way more than that. So thank you very much for all your help there. But remember, we're all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests.